Jason, how's it going, brother?
Very well. How about yourself?
Well, you and me both are in the cold weather climate, so
Yeah.
we're dealing with that. But Jason, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, and what you've been up to over the last couple of years? Then I would love to go back and hear about how you got into this thing.
Yeah, absolutely. My name's Jason. I'm 28. I currently live in New York City. I moved here about a year ago just to change of pace. I felt like life was a little too good, too comfortable living in Orange County in California. So I
Uh,
made that move. I spent the last 11 years building my own e-commerce business, starting from when I was 17 years old, building my own clothing company. Then I got into home goods, home decor, stationaries, all kinds of stuff, anything to make a buck
hmm
online. And then I got into beauty. I started a lash company. I've operated other lash companies, hair companies, nail companies, just really deep in beauty for a few years. And
mm.
then last 2 years, I've been in manufacturing. So I sold off my companies, closed some that weren't doing too well, and I went full in on manufacturing packaging for other CPG brand,
Mm.
and that's what I'm doing right now.
Interesting. So, Jason, you're a first generation immigrant, is that correct?
That's correct.
Tell me about that, man. What was life like coming to the United States? How old were you when that happened?
I was born in Hong Kong and came to America when I was
Okay.
8 years old.
So, I mean, old enough to remember, that
Oh,
process.
oh yeah, I remember my first meal was a McDonald's sandwich. Landed at night in New York City. We didn't have a place to go. My mom and I were just trying to leave Hong Kong. She just got out of a divorce with my dad, and we were just trying to find our way in this new country. And so to make ends meet, we were just working in different restaurants. You ever been to like a Chinese takeout restaurant and you see a kid doing their homework on the side?
Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah.
That's me. So that was me growing up. I spent my entire childhood up till when I was a teenager in a restaurant, in multiple restaurants, just moving around the country, working at an uncle's or aunt's restaurant, trying to make ends meet. And it was around that time that I got really deep into doing things online, because when you're in a restaurant for many many hours and your family gives you a computer, the best route was just go on the internet and see what's happening there. um, Around between these time, I was moving around from New York. I lived in California, I lived in Indiana, moved to Oklahoma, lived in Florida. I was just moving around every 2 years because there wasn't really a home for us. We were just trying to make things work. And that's a very common story that I've heard from other immigrants too. It's just you're trying to find your footing. But I think it was that experience that gave me a really good worldview of the entire country.
hmm
I went from East Coast to West Coast to middle of the country to redneck Florida, and then I moved to Toronto.
Whoa.
When I was 16, I moved to Toronto. So I really felt like I've seen the entire country. And around that time, right when I moved to Toronto, is when I really got online and started a blog. My blog on Tumblr, which I'm not sure how
Oh
many
yeah.
people
Oh
know
yeah.
what Tumblr is. Um, I was 16 years old trying to make a bunch of content on Tumblr, and somehow it worked. I grew to several million followers online
Whoa.
as a teenager, and I made money by AdSense. I made money by affiliate ads, and it was through those experiences when I learned how to do marketing, and that was really just how the ball started rolling.
I want to put a pin in that Tumblr thing, but you said something that I have to ask about. You said when you came to New York City, you didn't have a place to stay. Is that literally like a movie scene? Like you arrive in New York City, the lights are flashing, the cars are honking, and you look up at mom. You go like, "Okay, where are we going?" And she's like, "We got to find somewhere."
We were staying in hostels in East Broadway, in
Wow.
Chinatown, in Lower East Side, New York. And I
Wow.
remember just me and her. I was so young, I didn't know what was going on. I just knew that. I mean, we never slept out in the streets. My mom did whatever she could to make sure I had a roof over my head. But I, looking back, I realized that the people that we were living with, I had no idea who they were. I just thought they're aunts and uncles, but they were just other people in a little two-bedroom apartment we had. And yeah, we really didn't have a place to stay. We didn't have our own home. I didn't have my own bedroom until I moved out by myself using the money that I made online. And that was
Wow.
really my childhood.
And did you or mom speak English?
Not at all. Not a lick.
Wow. So that makes sense though that you're kind of like, moving through the Chinese American community in Chinatown and things like that just because
Yeah.
it's familiar, it's easy, people speak the language, you can kind of get around. And I haven't spent tons and tons of time in New York City, but that's what they always say is there's like a little ecosystem for like every population group. There's like the Italian area, and you can go to places where they're speaking Italian, and Polish
Yeah.
area, and they're speaking Polish, and it's cool.
I mean, New York has such a long history of being the hub where immigrants come into America and find their footing before they expand out to the rest of the country, right? Looking back at where the country was founded, New York was a pivotal part of the American history. And you're going to see today in Manhattan, there is little pockets of Little Italy, Chinatown. And then you go look at the Irish locations, the Jewish populations, there's everywhere. And I think it just such a perfect place for someone who has never seen America yet to get comfortable because you hear the language that people speak that you are familiar with, and it puts you at ease.
Yeah, it's also not really like surprising in New York City to like, see somebody who's speaking Polish and they're like, "Oh, I don't really speak English." Like, whereas, I'm in Columbus, Ohio. If somebody's speaking Polish and they don't speak English, you're like, "What's going on here, dude?" Like,
Yeah.
come on, help me out. Okay, so you said you started this blog on Tumblr. What do you
Mhm.
like? How did you arrive at Tumblr, and what are you posting, and like, how does that actually end up making money? It sounds like you were tinkering a lot, like on the internet, but eventually
I
you found something that sort of worked.
I gotta give a shout out to my high school best friend Naman Shah here in freshman year of high school, back when we were in Florida. He was like, Jason, you need to hop on this blog because I'm making $20 a day clicking ads, and my friends click my ads on AdSense, and we're making money on the internet with our blogs.
Okay.
So he introduced me to Tumblr. He helped me get set up. Um, uh, Tumblr, for a lot of people who aren't familiar with that, is a microblogging platform. It's multimedia. You can put music, you can put pictures, you can put videos, you can put text, and people can share your stuff, kind of like a retweet, or you could quote tweet, or you could like. And so he would help me out. He will reshare my stuff, get me a lot of followers, get me a lot of click and likes, and I slowly grinded that account. And he got me set up on my Google AdSense account. He introduced me to Facebook groups where we were just interacting with each other's content. It was a little community of people trying to help each other out to grow.
Mm,
And my content was a lot of comedy. I felt like comedy was a great way for an immigrant to make friends. At first you get made fun of, and then you just make fun of yourself, and then
mhm.
eventually become the class clown. And that was the same philosophy I had when I started the online blog. I just got to be funny. Funny things get shared a lot. And at the time, a lot of the content that were getting syndicated to Instagram was Tumblr posts. Right now, you'll see posts from Twitter, you'll see stuff from X, um, and from other platforms. But back in the day, back in 2011, 2012, it was a lot of Tumblr stuff.
Mm.
And so the content that I made started catching on, and people liked it, and I started growing to about 600,000 followers. And I started making some serious money. I'm talking about like $1,000, $2,000 a month as a 16-year-old. It's not bad
Yeah.
for not really a real job.
That's like, mom, I need to learn how to like file my taxes.
No, I was paying everything to her account. I didn't even have like my own bank account. I
Jeez.
was
She's
old
probably
at the
she's probably seeing these deposits and is like, what the hell's going on
moment.
here?
Right. And so I got into affiliate marketing. I was selling anything from supplements to clothing. And the beauty of internet back in the day, or the social media climate back in the day, was that a lot of people were just making content for the sake of making content. A lot of content creator now, knowing how the money is, they make content for the sake of making money.
Mm,
I was a little bit of both. I like making content, but I also wanted to make money to support my family. And so I would go up to these different blog owners who were just making content for the love of the game. And I said, hey, can I buy your blog for a few $100s? And these people who are just making stuff for fun, they're like, yeah, a few $100s. Yeah, sure. Here, take it. I'm just going to make another one.
so how does that work? Um,
I literally buy their entire account.
so you buy their account, and what are they doing? They're, posting recipes, they're, posting new music, stuff like that?
Usually it's the same niche, so they were probably posting very similar stuff to me. A lot of the Tumblr accounts are creators, not original content creators. I was a little bit mix of both. I'll make my own content, but I'll also repost other people's stuff
Okay.
onto my blog. And as soon as you repost or retweet someone's content onto your account, it's on your account, right? And so once you became known as a blog that has the funniest memes or like the most in trend content, people tend to follow you.
Mhm.
And so I would start to acquire other people's blogs that were similar to me in content and style. I would share their stuff, grow that account, which I bought, and start growing that network. Eventually, that network of account grew to several million
Mm,
followers. And it was just because a lot of these people didn't understand the money of it.
got it.
I understood early on that there was a lot of money in eyeballs. There's people that are willing to pay cents for an eyeball.
Mhm.
There's a CPM model, and you're gonna laugh at this, but like back in the day for CPM, we're getting paid $2 a CPM. And, like, we were working really, really hard for $2 just to get 1,000 views. But that's how I got started. I was buying other people's assets, growing them, making money on them, and that's how I made my first $10,000 a month at 16 years old.
Mm. Is something like that still possible, or are those days of the internet sorta, like, gone? Like
Oh, there's still so many. Like when you go on Instagram, there's a lot of what they call theme accounts, and you're gonna go on TikTok and you're gonna see these theme accounts too, like you know, funny memes, funny girl memes, relatable girls, relatable guys, school memes. There's a bunch of these accounts online, and you gotta find them everywhere. And the same model still applies, but it's definitely a lot challenging to get into than before. Back in the day, there wasn't a lot of people doing it. Now there's 1,000 times more people doing this model.
I gotcha. What about the revenue? Has the revenue dropped off just with more people doing it and more eyeballs going to TikTok and all these different places?
I think there's still a lot of money. In fact, I think there's even more money because that business model has been validated. Back in the day, there wasn't a lot of brands willing to allocate marketing budget towards a bunch of kids on Tumblr.
Got it.
But now people are understanding that as long as people convert, there's money worth spending towards. So we have friends who were running campaigns for political reasons during the presidential elections. A lot of money went into these meme accounts because a lot of the Gen Z audience were following these accounts. So my
Right.
friends who were running these accounts were making money off supporting one side, the other side, or both sides.
Mm.
Um,
That makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense, definitely the memification of our political climate. I mean, I can't tell if it's a good thing or a bad thing, but it's definitely real.
right, there's money in that.
Hmm. Okay, so why didn't you just ride this, model until the cows came home?
Because all good things has to come to an end. um, right when I was getting really good at making affiliate posts and making money from affiliate programs, I realized that I want to make my own content. I want to make my own product. Instead of selling other people's product, why don't I sell my own product?
Okay.
And so I would think about how do I sell my own stuff. And the first idea I had was a t-shirt company. I would take whatever was popular online, whether that is Drake dancing to a music video that back in the day,
Yep.
putting that into a Christmas sweater, or Trump holding a dog and smiling. Anything that's meme worthy, anything that's trendy, I made it into a T-shirt, and that was my first business that allowed me to move out of my mom's house to Los Angeles. But eventually, Tumblr was like, "Hey, actually, we don't like you guys making money on our platform. We actually have a policy. If you look at our terms and condition of no third-party advertising." And on that ground, they banned every single person, myself, my friends, everyone in our group. Um, but I think I kind of escaped well because by the time they banned me, I already had a product business that was generating revenue outside of the blog.
Mm.
The caveat was I was basically getting free marketing because I was just promoting my own product on my own blogs. Others not so well. People who were entirely dependent on that as a revenue stream eventually had to find a job, but I just doubled down on my e-commerce business.
So when you say Tumblr kind of banned all these accounts because they were making money on their own ads, what do you mean by that? So like you were running ads on posts that you had on Tumblr to offsite traffic, or like is that how that was working?
We were basically selling CPC, and we're selling CPM campaigns to different advertisers. So one of our clients back in the day was Shein. Shein's one of the largest clothing
Oh yeah.
companies in the world right now. Back in the day, before they were that big, they were advertising on Tumblr.
Got it.
And so they would pay us $1,000 to post X amount of posts throughout the month.
I got it.
And that alone is a violation of Tumblr's policy.
I see. Because what, Tumblr didn't want any ads to run through their platform without sort of them being the person or the methodology of that happening?
Tumblr never figured out how to monetize the platform. Even after Yahoo bought them, at most they could do was put banner ads on everyone's blog, and that's really why they failed. It just never was a company that could monetize.
Hmm.
And so seeing a bunch of their users making money without them kind of ruffles some feathers.
Yeah. Well, that's an important lesson for all entrepreneurs out there. You know, channel risk. Are you dependent on one channel for all of your customers? And if the answer is like, yeah, pretty much, like that's an
Yep.
enormous risk in your business. And also that's a business that people just won't really invest in. Right.
Yep.
So you sound like you kind of escaped though. So where are you transitioning to? Like what platforms are you now? I assume you kind of taking the same model and just saying, okay, Tumblr's like moving on, like let's do it on Instagram or Twitter or something like that.
No, I left the space
Just
entirely.
totally you're done with like, running these accounts and building them
No,
up.
no more accounts, purely focused on e-commerce, running ads on Facebook, running ads on
Mm.
TikTok, having an Amazon store, the
Dir
traditional way of
direct
e-commerce.
marketing to the customer.
Yep.
Interesting. And are you still doing like t-shirts and meme t-shirts at that time? Is that kind of still the model?
I mean that business I closed down in 2018. I think T-shirt as a business, it's great, but I was so young, I didn't know how to scale it up. At most, I was doing was $100,000 a month, and this sounds like a lot of money, but then you start counting into how much things cost, how much things cost to
Well,
advertise.
right up right off the top, your margin on t-shirts, what, like maybe 30%? Maybe?
Yeah, maybe. And you have to understand, I used to get free marketing, and now I have to pay someone for marketing.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of lessons I had to learn from the get go. There was no course online. There's no YouTube video teaching me how to do any of this. But I think that business was good enough for me to live very comfortably, but it wasn't one that I can think, okay, I can be a millionaire just doing that. And I think for a lot of other people, they can absolutely take that business model and do very well with it. But I was 18 years old at that point. I didn't really know what I was doing. I just made enough to have a roof over my head and a car to drive.
Yeah. It's like a cash flow business. Like you got 100 grand coming in and cash is flowing. You can peel a little off every now and then, but like your point, you're not going to become a millionaire probably off it unless you can scale it considerably. And scaling those businesses, I mean, t-shirts are tough, man. Like, were you printing on demand or are you holding inventory?
Holding inventory. I
Mhm.
didn't know what drop shipping was. I didn't know what POD was.
Yep. That's tough,
Uh,
man. I mean, because trust me, we're in an inventory based business. So now you're talking about small, medium, large, extra, extra large,
Gosh.
and 4 colors. It's like, dude, that's like 15 SKUs or 18 SKUs now.
Yeah, and you got whole dead stock. I was fulfilling out of my bedroom for the longest time.
Yeah.
It was horrible. But segueing that, I eventually launched a coloring book called the Meme Bible.
Mm.
And the Meme Bible was essentially a pastime activity. You can do coloring activities there, hangman, crossword puzzles, mazes of the year's most popular memes. So I basically took what I saw running the social media accounts. I was like, you know what? People like memes. People like funny stuff, but the only medium where you can see that physically was on t-shirts, and I don't want to just do t-shirts. I want to do something really cool. So I launched that book with no product at all. I photoshopped a picture of what the book would look like, and I made a Shopify website. It was $29. I didn't have any inventory. I literally just had a picture, a really well written copy in my opinion, and I photoshopped a what looks like an article. So I went on a website, probably like BuzzFeed or Mashable, and I inspect element the headline and said this is the most popular Christmas gift of the year, and I put that headline next to a picture of the book. I cropped out their logo so it doesn't look like it's from anything, but if
Right.
you know it, it's like it looks like it's coming from an article.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I start posting that on Instagram. I start posting it on other people's Tumblr who still had their accounts, and it immediately blew up. The first day we did $4,000. The second day we did 6,000. The third day we did nine,
Mm.
and by the fourth day we did $10,000. By the end of the week we did $250,000, and I
Holy
still
shit.
I still didn't have a book.
Yeah.
It did
Well,
not.
now it's like, okay, we got to start printing.
Yeah, I mean, I remember this was November 27th when I started.
Oh, wow.
All right, you know where I'm going with this. November
This is a
27th.
tight window to get this project done and shipped.
So by the end of the week, I was like, well, shit, I have 8,000 orders I need to fulfill through, and I have no books. So I went to look for the nearest bookstore, book printing shop, and I got it all printed, rush fee, paid whatever I could to get it rush, got it all shipped to my bedroom and started shipping it out. I was printing shipping labels on, I think at the time it was called Shippo, and then I used ShipStation. I put number two envelopes, bought them from Amazon, start sliding the books in and shipping it out. There's pictures of me in my car with my trunk all yellow envelopes going to a USPS office. And you know where this timeline is because the USPS cutoff date for Christmas is December 11th, 12th. So I literally had 6 days to get every single order out. I was working myself, pulled in my friends, fulfilling orders out of their bedroom, and we got it out.
Wow. How
And
did you know how many books to purchase at that time from the printer? Did you sell a set number and then go, "We're sold out," or did you just keep it going as long as you could?
I print what we sold plus 25% more because I know afterwards, after this cutoff period, there's really nothing else I could sell because the book is supposed to be for that year only.
Yeah.
And I did that for the next 4 years.
Yeah, I was gonna
Um,
say, was this is a product you kept rolling out?
every single year, it just went on and on and on. And then I started launching a board game with memes. I did a bath bomb. Bath bombs were big back in the day. So bath bomb in the shape of memes. Fidget spinner was huge. Remember back in
Oh, yeah.
2016, 17. So I had a fidget spinner shaped bath bomb. I had a cookbook of meme inspired recipes with real chefs. So I put together real chefs and I was like, hey, you know what? Here's a theme, do your best with it and contribute to this book. And some of them are now like really famous chefs. They were indie chefs at the time.
That's
Um,
awesome.
and I eventually sold that business and got into cosmetics, and that's really how my career has been.
How'd you decide to sell that business, and what did that look like?
At one point, I just realized that that's not what I want to do for the rest of my life. You
Yeah.
know, like after 5 years, I don't want to be known as a guy that sells meme products. I want to do something more substantial.
Now let me ask you kind of a deeper question. Did it feel like it was, not up to the level of business acumen or ability that you had at some point? It was like, yeah, I'm, like, selling meme stuff, and it's, like, kind of a cool gag gift, but, like, I don't know if this is the fulfillment that I need in life.
Yeah, I didn't feel like this is where I want to be. I think early on, I've had very high ambition. And, you know, as an immigrant kid, when you first come to America, your ceiling is as tall as you see, like where your surroundings are, right? So for me, working in a restaurant, I was like, you know what? If I make $3,000 a month, I can survive. That's what everyone around me makes.
Mhm,
And then once I moved to LA and I see people making 100K, 200K, 500K, I'm like, oh shit, you can actually make that much in a year.
mhm.
I remember the first 6 months in LA, I was just going to as many parties, as many events as I can. I have friends I met from online that I start hanging out with in LA that introduced me to their friends. And I met one of the founder of Fashion Nova, Richard, at month 7 of going into LA. And I remember having dinner with him and a couple other friends. And I had no business being there. I was just tagging along. And but after the dinner, no one drove. So I was like, hey guys, I took my car here. Do you want me to drop you guys off? Richard's like, yeah, let's go back to my crib. Like, drop me off there. We drive up Hollywood Hills. I don't even know how much that mansion is. It's probably in the neighborhood of 40-50 million dollars.
Woo!
I was like, holy shit, money like that exists. I think that just opened up a world of ambition for me, with just seeing how high the ceiling could go. And so going back to the meme business, I was like, I don't think this is where I want to be because the TAM for this business is so small.
Mhm.
Like, there's only so much I could do with it. I'm not gonna be a multimillionaire, a billionaire with this. Like, that's where I want to be. This is not it, and that's what led me to sell the business.
Yeah, I think you just hit on something really important, and I've met people like this where they've never hung out with people who are 10x their level of success. They just hang out with people who are like 70 or 80% their level of success, and they just think like, "Dude, I'm balling. I'm doing great. Like, I'm doing better than all my friends," which is totally fine. Like, if that's, where you are in life and that's
Right.
what you want to do, that's great. But sometimes you do need to get like slapped in the face with reality and see somebody who has like a 40, $50 million mansion. You'd be like how like you bought this like so you
I think what allowed me to move up, if you will, in my life from living in a hostel to where I am right now was I've always wanted to be the smallest fish in the room.
mm,
Always looking for a room where people are doing 10 times better than me because there's no point to be the biggest fish in the room.
oh yeah.
You're not really growing, right? And so I was like, you know what? I can forget not coming from a very well put together family. I can forget not having a lot of money growing up, but I have the opportunity right now to place myself in a room where I can 10x myself, and I'm not going to resent my family for not giving me this and that. I'm just going to focus on what I can give myself. And what I can give myself is the opportunity to be around people who are just doing so much better than me, who can teach me something, and who I can aspire to be one day. And that's how I get from point A to point B every single time in my life.
Well, maybe you know this, but that's not the way that most people think. Most people want to be that big fish in the pond. I don't know if you know about this study, but there's a study. They call it positional concern. Classic experiment presents participant with two choices: either you earn, an amount like 33,000 while peers earn 38,000, or you're earning 30,000 while your peers are earning 28,000. They've done this with different dollar amounts. Do you want to make 100 grand? But all your friends are making 150, or do you want to make 75 grand, but all your friends are below you? Time and time again, people say I would rather be the person making more money, even when it's like you're dropping down and making less money, but they
Right.
just would rather be out ahead of their other people. So like that's not the typical thought process for most people, and it's I think a tough thing as an entrepreneur. You have an ego, like you're like, I know what I'm doing, I'm smart, that's why I believe in myself. Like you can't really be an entrepreneur without like that self-belief to begin with.
Right.
But yet to your point, like don't disregard the facts of reality. Somebody out there owns a $50 million mansion. You're like, I couldn't buy that if you took my salary and 10x
Yeah.
it. So how's this going to work, right? Like, so what happens after you sell through, and how did that transaction go? How did you find a buyer? Like, was it was it pretty good for you, or was it just like, cool, this is an opportunity to move on?
It was really good. It was really good. Sold it to someone that I knew in my circle
Got it.
who wanted to do something more with it, but they didn't end up doing anything with it. So
Hmm.
I think I don't think that amount mattered to them, and but it was meaningful for me,
Yeah.
and so I took that, put in my savings, and I started the next business, which is my beauty company, Doe Lashes, and I think the Doe Lashes story goes from starting with $500, and it wasn't that I only had $500. Was that I knew what I built already that I sold. I knew that if I just do the same thing again, I don't need that much money. I know exactly what buttons to push,
Hmm.
but I'm just gonna give myself a challenge of $500 and see what I can do with it. And I documented the entire journey on my Twitter, and
Sweet.
that's how I
I love
how I
it.
started building a following online. So much so that Shopify did a profile on the entire journey, because I think it's a really good reflection on what you can do when you just know how to be resourceful.
Hmm.
A lot of people, when they say you need X amount of dollars to start a business, I think that's true for certain types of business, but in e-commerce, you and I know that if you're strategic enough, if you're creative enough, you can do so much with just $1.
Hmm. Well, I mean,
And
you learned that by doing the pre-sale for the books, right? Like,
yeah, I didn't spend any money.
exactly. And then all of a sudden, I don't know if you got paid immediately for that or if you get paid like when you ship, but you just turned zero into I don't know how much. You said what, 8, 10,000 orders.
Yeah. So Doe was a very meaningful 6 years of journey for me. I learned a lot in building a consumable product. Books, coloring books was something I would say is a gag gift, right? But like building something that people want to see in stores, people want to buy repeatedly, was a whole new ball game. And for me, I love that challenge. I've always wanted to do things to learn. I'm a very hands-on learner. Terrible in school. I cannot sit through a lecture, but I can definitely grind through 18-hour days on Shopify, learning how to code, learning how to send emails, learning how to run ads. Like that to me is the best classroom. And that's what I did for 6 years. But that's really what got me into what I'm doing right now, which is in manufacturing.
Mm.
Like all the lessons I learned as a brand owner, working with suppliers and having all those pain points is what led me to start Packing Duck. And Packing Duck was or is a business that's only a year and a half old. We're currently the fastest growing manufacturing business in America for packaging. We are Inc. 5000's award list. We are entirely bootstrapped, never raised a single dollar from outside capital.
Mm.
And I did that because I took all the money that I earned from running my brands and I bought a piece of factory in China. What I've learned was that factories in China do not really know how to do business with Americans.
Yeah.
They're 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 purebred factory owners. They just make things and they push it out. They don't know how to do marketing. They don't know how to do branding. They don't know how to do content.
I got news for you, man. That's basically every manufacturer. They're all the same, whether China or US. It's pretty much like, just let me make the product, man. Which is
and
great.
and
Which
that's
is
good.
great.
Like they're that's their craft. They do great with that. But I saw there was a very interesting opportunity when I was in China, which is a lot of the Chinese factories they weren't really exporting outside. They were selling to domestic companies, trading companies who were then selling outside.
Oh,
So there's a lot of trading companies in China whose entire job is just to resell what the factories were
kind
selling,
of like a broker, if you will.
basically a middleman,
Got it.
a trading company. But their specialty is that they know English, they know how to make a website, they know how to reply to you on Alibaba, and that's really it. And so
Interesting.
I was like, okay, this is really interesting because Chinese economy wasn't doing too well at the time, and all these factories that are dealing with domestic vendors are getting less and less orders, and they just don't have a lot of stability. Which is an opportunity for me to come in and buy a piece of the business because I can tell them, hey, if you let me in, I can bring you all these clients. When I was running my own beauty brands, everyone knew each other. E- Lash brand knew a hair care brand, a nail brand. We knew someone that's selling makeup here, selling makeup there. So immediately, the first few months of us joining that factory, we have 50 clients that I brought in,
Mm.
more than they ever could imagine, placing orders in the tunes of $50,000, $100,000. And so we were able to very quickly show why we're a good choice to bring in as a partner.
Mm.
And we've been partners ever since.
Mm. Interesting. What was it like buying a portion of a business in another country?
Well, being Chinese definitely helps. I think if I didn't have a Chinese citizenship, it would definitely be a lot more challenging.
Hmm.
But I spoke the language, I knew the culture. I've done a lot of business in China. It was very natural, and the factory that I bought was a factory that we use at our own company
Got it.
for many years. So the relationship was there. But basically, what we did for Pack and Duck was instead of just thinking of ourselves as a factory, we think of ourselves as a business that has a manufacturing prong, a media prong, and a technology prong.
Okay.
Um, we make short form content about our factory. We show the behind the scene process. We break down how Rolex makes their bags, how much this thing costs. And our video gets about 40, 45 million views a year
Mm. So
across.
it's like a How It's Made. Do you remember that show?
Exactly. That's my inspiration. It's one of my favorite
I
videos.
love that show.
I love that TV. So we syndicate our content on TikTok, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube Shorts, and so we're getting so much increase that factories typically won't get because factories usually get their leads from trade shows, conventions,
Mhm.
cold emails, a website, maybe an Alibaba inquiry. And so we fixed the demand problem by generating demand through what we knew best, which is short form content.
Mm.
We then use that money to invest into technology. So we're now using AI to build our own platform to digest customers' inquiry better, work with our clients, consult them better, using AI to make designs for them, just speed things up a lot. So by driving efficiency in our manufacturing facility, we're able to save our customers more money by lowering overhead expenses. We're able to push orders out a lot faster, so our cash flow turnaround is a lot faster.
Mm.
So I basically turned around a Chinese factory by layering what I knew best, which is marketing and technology.
Mm. What's it like doing business, in China? Because I have no experience with that. I hear a lot of rumors, I hear about the Chinese government, owns part of your company. I mean, what's the reality based on what you've experienced?
No, I think there's a lot of murmurs that people hear, and I'll speak from like perspective of I have a U.S. passport, so like I consider myself American.
Mhm.
I don't think a lot of things that you see about doing business in China are necessarily true. I think for some enterprises where you're in oil and energy and real estate, once you get big
Maybe
enough,
tech,
Chinese government might want to intervene, because think about it, if you're a really, really big company in China that manages the money or the real estate of many, many millions of Chinese people, and if you collapse, what that impact does to the economy, Chinese government will step in and intervene. But outside of that, they don't really touch you. And for someone of our size, they definitely don't bat an eye.
Mm.
Um,
So
but doing business in China is great if you understand the culture, because it's very relationship based. There's a lot of etiquette. There's a lot of culture that you have to understand. But I like it. It's very fun. Chinese people are very direct. I think Americans kind of like we skirt around the bush with what we want to say.
mhm.
Chinese people, you know exactly what they want to say to you. So if that's your if that's your style, you'll have a lot of fun time there.
Yeah, I've noticed that with various cultures. Specifically, I've done not a lot of business with people of Indian descent and that culture, but I've done some, and they'll almost come off as like rude. They'll be like, "We have to do more. We have to do more in sales," and you're like, "Whoa, dude! Like, whoa, let's take it down a notch." But it's just like the culture, like that is not inappropriate at all in their culture to just tell you like, "We're not doing enough business." It's like, whereas you know how it is, an American agency, everyone, okay, well, what can we do to scale this business? We really want,
Right.
we want to pull some levers. It's like,
Well, they're on your ass and they're on each other's ass for mutual growth. I think I can't speak for how business is done in India because I don't really do too much there. But in China, everyone kind of thinks collectively. Even in supply chain, everyone works together. There's not one factory that makes every single component of an iPhone.
mhm,
An iPhone glass gets their glass from one factory. They get their speaker from one factory. They get their chip from one factory. Everyone works together for one single collective goal, and everyone works in groups, and so they are on each other's ass. Hey, place more orders, output more, do things faster, pay faster. They're just constantly whipping each other, but the end result is people are building faster. You've seen the robotics in China.
mhm,
People are building faster than the West can even comprehend.
mhm. So, what about tariffs? Is that a concern for you? So, tell me this: are you manufacturing everything in China, or some things manufactured in the U.S.? Are component parts assembled in different places? Like, how does this global supply chain work for you?
We have facilities across China and some parts of Southeast Asia. Currently, we are looking at facilities in America too, but the reality is that for us to provide the cost that our customers come to us for, it's really hard to get the cost that we want in America.
Hmm.
There's a lot of talks of the purpose of the tariffs, which is to reshore a lot of these manufacturing business in America.
Hmm.
But the reality is that it's very hard to do so in near term. I understand the sentiment and the need to do it. As an American, I understand that. But you cannot just uproot many, many years of supply chain infrastructure and put it into America overnight.
Right.
This is a 8-year, 10-year, 15-year process that no president in a 4-year presidency can ever achieve.
Right.
Um, so I think in near term, supply chain and manufacturing will still have to come from where it is right now, and eventually you take bits and pieces and you reshore it back here. But the other challenge is labor cost is just simply too high here, and until you fix the cost of living in America, until you fix real estate, until you fix inflation, salary, and labor costs, it's very hard for you to get what you can get from China in America for the same amount of money.
And is that because cost of living in China is lower, cost of labor is just lower, um, cost of production is lower, cost of raw materials is lower? Maybe just talk me through like the economics of like
Oh yeah,
why is it cheaper? I know everyone says, "Oh, it's cheaper to manufacture in China." Why?
yeah. I mean, well, overall, there's just everything across the board. Let's just talk about raw materials, for example. Let's just say we're making paper pulp.
Okay.
The For you to make the paper pulp from recycled paper into a sheet of paper that you can print on, that process exists in America. But the people who are working on those machines are getting paid 15, 20, $25 an hour. The people who are working those machines in China are getting paid $2, $5, $6 an hour. So right off the bat, you're already 60 some percent more expensive than your Chinese counterpart.
Mm.
And we're talking about just a raw material right now. We didn't even get to the other parts of the supply chain process. And so I think the labor cost is cheaper. People can eat a full meal for 70% cheaper than what they would eat in America. Gas is cheaper. Um, Cost of living is cheaper. Medical expenses are cheaper. Like, everything is just so much lower in Asia compared to the West that it's very hard for anyone here to match the price that you would get from manufacturing facilities, simply because the cost of living here is just so much higher that you have to pay your employees a livable wage. But livable wage is subjective to where you live,
Correct.
right? In
Right.
China, the people getting paid the amount they're getting paid is livable wage, but that doesn't work here in America.
This may be a question for like a global macroeconomist, but what's your sense on why the cost of living is cheaper in China or any other Asian country?
Oh man, there's so much to go into it, and I can't say I'm an expert in this. This is purely just from observations, but I think because a lot of the produce, um, a lot of the output, a lot of the manufacturing output comes from China. Right off the bat, things are cheaper.
Right. It's closer.
It's just a lot closer. Things are already cheaper to begin with.
Mhm.
And the second part is just there's just a vast majority of people that are in the workforce compared to America. Right? There's 1.4 billion people in China, there's 1.3 billion in India, and there's about what 350, 380 here in the United States.
Mhm.
So when you have a lot more people doing things, you can just build faster, but you can also build cheaper
Mhm.
because there's a lot more of the cost being spread across.
So one question I have for you, do you feel like it's accurate to say they don't have the environmental regulations that we have in the United States that are hurting us or making it cost more to manufacture in the United States? Because that's one of my things that I've heard. I have no idea if that's actually accurate or not.
I've definitely heard that a lot too until I went back to China as a manufacturer. And as a manufacturer, there is a ton of environmental regulations that you have to abide by.
Hmm.
For example, we have a factory that produces paper goods, but there are certain treatments on the paper, like UV treatments that uses chemical
Yep.
for curing, that we cannot have in this facility because it's too close to residential areas.
Okay.
We had to buy a second factory in the village area,
Mm,
much more rural, 30, 40 minutes away from where our main factory is, just for those specific treatments.
mm, interesting.
So that's just an example. And then, I think there's a lot of news about like dumping policies. There's a lot of news about like recyclability policies. China is one of the leading countries in recycling. It's hard to believe, right? But it is one of the countries where the people on its own, they want to keep the streets clean. The government wants to keep the streets clean. They will employ a lot of people to keep the streets clean, and they will send a lot of people to make sure that you are recycling well,
Mm,
and that the factories also have to abide by these recycling policies. So we can't just dump our shit on the ground and call it a day.
hmm.
We have to abide by certain processes
Mm.
in order to dump our waste.
Do you feel like most Chinese cities or Asian cities are really clean? I've heard that.
Oh man, I think Singapore probably leads. Singapore and Japan are the cleanest cities I've been to personally. I think China is on its way. There's still a lot of work to do. Um, you have to understand, like China 20, 30 years ago was just a village.
Hmm.
We were just a bunch of villages until I would say 30 years ago, when we start having a lot more trade with the West, where we have a lot more capital injection, where we're able to invest in our local infrastructures. So a lot of people in China who are wealthy are recent wealthies,
Hmm.
which means that there's a lot of civil sense that they have to learn, a lot of etiquettes. A lot of people, I would say, as a Chinese as well, they're still adapting. They don't understand what to do properly, but they're learning.
Mm.
And so when you go to China, there will be some parts to see that are spotless and clean, but then there's also parts to see where you're like, okay, that guy definitely just threw something on the ground.
Hmm. Yeah, that's every city, probably. Although I was in Dubai and I didn't see any areas where there was homelessness or trash, piled up anywhere. I actually, when I flew in, it was really late. It was like 2 a.m. and a taxi picked us up, and it's like, or no, it was Uber picked us up, and guys have a Mercedes Benz, and he made a
Yeah.
joke. He's like, "Oh, the taxis are like they're simple cars," and we're like, "Oh, okay." Um, but my buddy was like, "Is there anyone like homeless in Dubai?" And he's like, "What?" And
What is that?
we're like, "Homeless, like, they live on the streets." And he's like, "No. No, there's no one like, that lives on the streets. What? No." So, like, that was like a welcome to Dubai kind of moment.
Yeah.
So talk to me about, the things that you are manufacturing, and where do you foresee this business going? Is it, "Hey, I did this for this Chinese manufacturing company. Maybe I could do it for 2 or 3 or 4 other industries?" Talk me through that.
I think this is the industry that we want to stay in. Our first facility was in paper goods, and then we eventually got to plastics. We did the same exact business model with a plastics factory
Okay.
where we make shampoo bottles, hair care bottles, you know, the the containers that your gel comes in. We start making those components, and then we start doing the same thing for bags. So when you buy something from Amazon, it comes in those little bags. We make bags like that
Oh,
too,
like a poly bag?
like a poly bag. We do poly bag mailers, we do bubble mailers,
Hey,
and
we
then
gotta holler at you, man. Dude, we go through so many poly bags.
yeah, let's talk.
Yeah.
Uh, this year, 2 months ago, we just bought a piece of a rostock film factory. So we make stand-up pouches.
Okay.
When you buy protein powders, it comes in a little pouch. We do stuff like that too now. So we're really just trying to take that same business model across different categories of materials and bring it all under the Packing Duck umbrella. But really, our ambition is that in 5 years, we will be a tech-driven manufacturer where we'll have our own platform. Our clients can come in through the demand that we drive through our content, but then we'll also have different factories that we can qualify to be a part of the network.
I
So
see.
instead of us owning every single factory, you have to meet these qualifications in order to be a part of a Pack and Duck factory.
Almost
And
like a
actually,
mini Alibaba, sort of.
quite. So I got the idea from looking at how hotels are operated. So did you know that Hyatt, Hilton, and Marriott do not own 99% of their
I
hotels?
didn't know that number, but probably just in the last year, I learned that, like, there's hotel franchisees. A guy was like, "Yeah, I own a Hilton," and I'm like, "You what?" He's like, "Yeah,
Yeah.
we own a Hilton hotel." It was Hilton or Hyatt, I don't know. But I was like, "You can own a Hilton hotel?" He's like, "Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah." I'm like, "What?"
I learned that like a year ago too, and it wasn't that case before. Marriott, Hilton, and Hyatt used to own their own hotels, but over the last decade, they started selling off those properties and letting franchisees own it. And the idea is that they've already made a brand for themselves. They already have a list of standard for what it takes to be a Marriott hotel, what it takes to be a JW Marriott hotel versus a mid-level Marriott hotel. They already have all these things in place.
Mm,
They have SOPs in place, they have people in place, they have finance in place, they have marketing in place, they have their own platform already. So all they really have to do is just do the marketing and let their franchisees operate these hotels under their umbrella. And I got the same idea of, right now we're going to own our own facilities, but there will be a time where we become so big and well known that we have our own technology backing up our facilities. We have our own centralized financing, our own centralized marketing team, where we can have different factory owners who don't have the capabilities to do marketing, that don't have the capabilities of talking with customers, but they are amazing at making packaging, join our umbrella and be a pack and duck factory.
mm.
So that way we don't have to own the facility itself, but for the facility to be a part of our network, they have to meet these certain qualifications. You have to have a 99% plus rate in accuracy. You have to have a 99% rate in response time. You have to be fluent in English. You need to have X amount of staff on X amount of team members on staff who are doing designs. Like things that qualifies them to be a top factory for us. And then we take a percentage of the transaction that comes through the company that gets triaged through them. Because what we realize is that our specialty isn't just in manufacturing. Our specialty and our moat is our ability to generate demand through content, through marketing, and our technology that these factories just are so far behind on.
Mm, interesting. So, are you targeting new avenues of, manufacturing? You said you're in paper, you're in plastics. I think I read
Mhm.
you're in glass. Is that right?
Yeah.
I've talked to you about that one too before we wrap this one up. Are you targeting new industries, or are you just targeting like deeper? Like, hey, we're maxed out in our plastic factory, but if we can get like another plastic factory, like we have excess demand, we can go faster. All this stuff.
We're gonna do that, but in different countries too. There's amazing factories in Turkey. There's
Mm,
amazing factories in the Middle East. There's amazing factories in Mexico, in America, and Canada. And so we're going to bring this model globally,
Mm.
but we're going to start in Asia first to first build the infrastructure. Because a lot of clients, when they come in, let's just say they want a glass jar, they might not want to make it in China for whatever reason. Maybe it's time, maybe it's cost, or maybe they just want something that's made in Canada. But through our platform, they'll be able to match a factory that's under our umbrella with our branding, but as a factory that's based in Canada.
Mm. And you're just shooting to make a couple percentage points on that transaction. You know, if you, let's say fast forward and you have 50 or 100 factories enrolled in your system, then I could
Mhm.
say, okay, I want a glass bowl made, and, tell me, just humor me what it would cost in North America. Tell me what it
Yeah,
would cost in Asia. Tell me what it would cost in Europe. And then potentially you might be able to have a process to like even like bid it out to those different, factories.
that's exactly right. Bidding it out. And right now, the relationship from a brand and a manufacturer is that you're basically going on Alibaba and begging these people to make a sample for you.
Yeah.
But like, think about it. You are running a business that is generating tens of millions of dollars in annual revenue. These companies should be begging to work with you. So when you come into our platform and create a RFQ, these factories should be able to bid on working with you. They should say, hey, instead of you paying us $200 for a sample, we would love to work with you. We're gonna make a sample
Mm.
for free. We're gonna ship it to you.
Mm.
Please work with us. So we're gonna change the dynamic of the relationship, where the brands have a lot more power to have the selection of who they work with. And I think this fixes that marketplace problem, because the problem with a marketplace like Alibaba is that when you go and type in packaging supplier, there's 8,000 people trying to say that they're a packaging supplier.
Mhm.
If you only have so much time to work on this project, you don't have time to go through all these people. You want to go through a brand like Pack and Duck, who you know historically has output amazing quality products at a really good price. And you know that anyone who's under this umbrella will be able to meet the same standard. Just like when you walk into a Marriott here in America, that's a 5-star hotel, and a Marriott in Tokyo, you know that because it's a Marriott hotel that's 5-star, you're gonna get the exact same level of service, exact same level of bedding, exact same level of amenities and breakfast and whatnot. And that's what we're trying to create for factories.
Mm. And yeah, you probably don't even want like nearly the amount of choices that are presented without, you probably want like 3 or 4 choices and be like, we stamp every single one of these as good, but if you want North America, here it is. If you want Europe, here it is. If you want Asia, here's 2 options.
That's right.
'Cause it's so overwhelming, like, when you get on Alibaba and you're like, "I need, glass bowls." Um, and then, like you said, you get so many results, like, some of them are in English, some of them are partially in Chinese or a language you're like, "I don't even know what that is," and it's super hard to vet, like, who's good, who's not. You reach out to, like, 12 of them, and you get, like, 8 responses, and you're like, "Where is this, and what is this one?" Yeah, it's a lot.
Yep, that's right.
Interesting. So how many factories do you currently have physical share, like a physical ownership in? And then where do you think that ends, where you go, okay, we're not probably going to be investing in factories any longer. We're going to be investing in the technology.
We're in. We're. I think we just closed one this month, so we're at 4 now.
Okay. Are you
But for a
taking
long
majority shares, minority shares in these?
minority,
Okay.
we don't need to take majority, as long as we're able to get really good pricing below factory prices, below public pricing. That's enough for us. So we buy enough to have controlling stakes, and then we not controlling in a majority sense, but like enough where our voice can be heard.
Yep.
Enough where when we walk in a room, they're like, okay, let's do something.
Mm,
We have 4, and that's in paper, plastic, glass, and bags.
mm.
Bags is what we introduced this year.
Interesting. Um, I might as well let the cat out of the bag now. So I have a patent for an all glass food storage container that
Hmm.
I've just been too busy to actually run this idea down. So kind of the general idea is everybody's kind of trying to avoid plastics, especially as related to their food. Got my steel cups here in front of me. Um,
Yep.
but if you go out and look into the market, there are no all glass food storage containers or anything that's just not containing a plastic part. There's glass bowls with plastic tops, but there's nothing that has exclusively all glass. And this market is like, it's ripe, man. Because if you listen to any of the biggest influencers, Joe Rogan's had a lady on that talks about, plastics in our food supply. Chris Williamson, I've specifically heard him like saying like there is no all glass food storage container, but if somebody knows about it, hit me up. So at Rhonda Patrick, Huberman, they're all kind of clamoring and talking about this, like remove the plastics from your diet. And I got a patent with 18 years of protection still, or something like that. So
Oh,
yeah, I just like I said, I've just been too busy to like run it down, but we should definitely catch up on that idea in the future. But one of the challenges that I ran into is exactly what you're talking about is there is no glass manufacturing in the United States. So if you want to produce this product, you instantly begin the search in Europe or Asia. And then
mhm.
all of those challenges that I kind of just discussed with Alibaba, where I'm messaging people and someone's responding to
Everyone's
me,
going through it.
everyone's like, like half responding a little, and then I'm like getting a sample and my sample breaks and it's like, God dang it, like this came all the way from China. Like I don't even know how to get a new one. Like they don't understand what I'm trying to say about the thickness. The thickness of the glass is just not quite there. Okay, we'll try again. It's like it's been a challenge and I just put it on the back burner, but I am certain that this business is legit.
Let's talk about it after.
Yeah, man. So what would you tell someone like me? Okay, so like how would my process work with you? I reach out to you, and I begin. I say, hey, I have I know this is exploratory, it's an idea, but let's say I physically need a glass product of some nature. How's my process going to work with you guys as opposed to like someone here, locally or even overseas?
So it's simple, really. Everyone on our team are ex-founders, store owners. They understand supply chain very well.
Mm,
So when you talk to us, all we really ask you to do is imagine we're ChatGPT, just describe things to us, and we'll be able to take whatever you tell us, fragments of it, and we'll be able to understand fully how to design it, how to manufacture it, and how to protect it during transport. I think a lot of times when you talk to factories, they don't really think about the holistic approach of the product. They just think about how to get that product made and get it out of the door. We think about the finances of it. Do you have enough margins to make this work? We'll give you advice on how to make it more cost efficient.
mm,
If there's a better way to do the presentation of the bottle, we also help think about it for
mm,
you. Um, we think through different materials. If you're like, hey, we want this to be heat resistant, we want it to be shatterproof, we want it to be XYZ, we give you different options to achieve that. And so I like to think that when people talk to us, they really talk to us like we're their partner. We're not just another vendor, because we're really sitting down thinking through these things with you.
mm,
um, and so just like how this podcast is, we're just ping ponging back and forth. It's just how our customers talk to us too. We sit down for 10, 20 minutes, just jam through their thoughts. And just based on that, we'll be able to dissect that and formulate it into a ready make spec. And then we start making samples for it, send you some samples to review. If you like it, we go into production. And that process can go from as short as a few weeks to a few months, depending on the complexity of it. But for some products that our customers come to us for, we've done consultations within days, and then we got samples out the next week.
mm.
It really depends on how complex things are.
That's amazing, man. Yeah. So, are there products that you will produce the full like product, like glass, hypothetically, or is glass just most of the component part? Like, how's that piece of the puzzle work? It works a little different than like I assume like cardboard or plastic because you're mostly making like a vessel, whereas the glass is it different?
So for glass, it's quite similar to how we do plastics. It's one single vessel. The challenge is for glass, it comes down to the molding.
Yep.
Um, we don't make molds in house, so we have to work with a third party mold supplier for that. We have to work with a CAD designer to make the 3D object of your vessel.
Hmm.
Um, but it's the same process as it's depending on if we want to do glass blowing or we want to do casting. And then also depending on what kind of materials you want to choose. So we we have we have several lines of machine depending on what materials you want, depending on how big it is. There are certain machines that make very, very small glass objects. There are some machines that make very, very large glass objects. So depending on the specs of your project, we'll be able to assign you with certain production lines to produce that.
Mm. How much of this business is capital expenditure? I just imagine that like going into manufacturing is just like new machine, new machine, new machine, new machine, new mold, this, that, and the third. Is that a lot of where your capital is going when you invest into these businesses? Or are you kind of assuming that they have and hoping that they have a lot of that in place. And hey, really my acquisition here is like help you, become whole as a founder, but then I'm going to send you a lot of business.
For the most part, the factories that we work with are um, quite established. The average age of the factories that we invest into are around 10 years.
Mm,
So they've been around. They weathered through a lot of storms. They have machines already, but when we buy a piece of it, we're investing into buying new machinery. So, for example, for papers, when we first came into the business, they only had a 5 color printing machine. Now we have a 7 color printing machine that we get from Germany. Um, for plastics, they had 1 injection machine. Now we have 3 injection machines. So
mm,
the money that we put in is to further strengthen their production infrastructure.
mhm,
We're not just here just to throw money in and say here's how you spend it. We think about what they're missing and what our clients need in order to produce a quality of goods that we say we will produce, and that's where we invest our money into.
mm. Yeah, I have just heard so many horror stories from manufacturers about like we bought this $2 million machine and we can't get it to work. So like I'm not envious of you in that particular piece of the business because I know that's challenging. And there isn't always an off the shelf product for the particular application that you're attempting to do. Like we
No,
kind of looked in some automation stuff and there's just no product that's out there. So it's like all custom builds. And when you custom build, it's like this thing might work, but we're gonna have to see.
and we're very fortunate that a lot of the partners that we work with in the facility are veterans. So my background is not necessarily manufacturing. My background is in the technology, in the content, and my and also in like the product design
Mm,
because of the brands that I ran. But we work with these owners who have been working in these fields for 20 plus years before starting their own factories. And so, uh, fortunately, a lot of these grunt work are handled by them. We're there to support, we're there to straighten their infrastructure, but like they're the ones who's day to day in the facility overlooking everything. And so, you know, I think we have a very unique business model where we are able to have the production efficiency of factories without a lot of the heavy lifting that traditional factories will have, because we're buying into a factory rather than starting something from scratch.
mm,
If we were to start the factory from scratch, and yeah, we have to set up all the machines, we have to set up all the lines together. But because we're buying into something that's already working, we're really just optimizing it.
mm. I got two questions, and then I'd like to go back to the lash business because I got to hear the 500 to 15 million. But um, how does that like? Do you do a revenue share with these people? So you got, let's say you got, I don't know, remember you said a percentage of stake. Let's say you got 40% stake in this plastic manufacturing factory. Are you making money on clients that you send to them? Are you doing year end profit and loss profit share? Like, how does that work?
So we take a percentage of profit from their existing clients, but it's a much smaller amount.
Got it.
But we take a much larger amount on clients that we bring in.
Got it. Like a finder's fee.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
So it's like the owner's draw on top of what we bring in.
Makes sense. And then what's your idea of where this business goes, man? Are you trying to grow it
I have
and sell or, I mean, I love the concept and I think, it sounds like there's a ton of upside. Even if this tech platform didn't come together and work the way that you envision it to work, like seems like it's already rocking and you're just doing a hell of a lot of manufacturing.
I want to sell. I have a number in my head. It's 100 million.
Okay. All right.
I think in 4 years we should be able to achieve that. Um, Purely just from manufacturing alone, it will be tough to do that in 4 year time frame. But with the technology component into it, I think we can very easily sell that, because the technology that we build can also be licensed out. It's just not the platform that we're building, but we're also building a CRM for manufacturing
Mm,
that we're using internally.
mm,
So previously, manufacturers were either just using WhatsApp, WeChat, and a Google Sheet, and that's how they do a lot of their business. We're building our own ERP to oversee the life cycle of manufacturing that's very unique to packaging.
mm.
And we're first using it internally, and then once that's ready to be published, we will then make it into a full-fledged product to license out to other factories.
Yeah, we're kind of doing something similar. Who knows if we'll end up selling it, but we have our own inventory management system that we've built. that we're utilizing for our various Amazon accounts and Walmart connectors and all that stuff. So who knows? Maybe we could sell it at some point in the future, but right now we're just trying to make it work for us. That's amazing, man. I love that business. I love that model. I'm excited to hear how good it's been so far. You got to tell us the story though about this lash business, because it
Yeah, of
says you took
course.
a $500 investment and turned it to 15 million value in approximately 12 months. So like, walk me through that 12 month.
It was actually a little bit longer than 12 months. It was, I think, a year and a half. We were able to hit that. Um, but basically, $500 was what I gave myself. Um, about half of that went into inventory. I only bought 200 pairs of lashes. No, actually, I think $400 of that went into inventory. 200 pairs of lashes. Each pair of lashes was $2 each.
Okay.
So about $400. Um, and then $29 went into Shopify, and then web domain, website, pay like some money for the website. All in all, about $500. Um, so with 200 pairs of lashes, I put aside 100 pairs and I just shipped it out to micro influencers. I didn't want to promote this with big influencers because I just couldn't afford them.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go on TikTok. I'm gonna go find these influencers with 600, 700 followers, Instagram accounts with 5,000, 10,000 followers, these nano influencers who typically would never get a brand deal. And this is back in 2018. So it's still very early on for social media influencer
Mm-hmm.
promotions. I'm going to send it to these people. Some of them I've worked with in the past in my other businesses, and no strings attached. I just said, hey, I would like for you to try out these lashes that I made. Here's what's different about them. And the bullet points are pain points that I make my products around. The reason why I got into this lashes business is because I was dating a girl at the time who was wearing lashes a lot. And I was also going out to concerts a lot. And when you're going out in concerts, especially, everyone's wearing makeup, heavy makeup with lashes and whatnot. And so I realized that a lot of the people, and I first heard it from my girlfriend at the time, were having trouble with their eyelashes. If you think about it, eyelashes is something that you put on the most sensitive part of your eyes,
Mm-hmm.
on your eyelids. Anything that goes wrong, you're gonna feel it. You're
Mm-hmm.
gonna feel it in your eyes. You're gonna feel it poke. You're gonna feel it hang down. It's gonna be too heavy. It's too droopy. Pokes your eyes. Makes you tear up. Whatever. So I made a pair of lashes that's so lightweight that it almost feels like you're wearing nothing. And the way that I like to draw a comparison to is that most lashes at on the market at the moment were like high heels, right? Women wear high heels on a night out. They wear it to look pretty, but man, does that suck.
Mm-hmm.
I take it off at the end of the day. I made a pair of lashes that it's kind of like a pair of white sneakers. You can wear it every single day. It still looks nice. You can go out with it, but it doesn't kill your feet at the end of the day. And that's really what our lashes are. And that was a pitch I gave to 100 people that I sent it out to. So I reserved 100 pairs to sell, sent 100 pairs out, and I think within the first month, or actually no, within the first 2 weeks, we sold out the 100 pairs. Maybe even faster in the first 2 weeks.
Mm.
So immediately I took that money and bought more inventory, and that's how I flipped. The first few months of just me flipping the inventory from what I bought at first
Where are
to
you sourcing? You sourcing overseas?
in a place in China called Qingdao. Qingdao is a city that's right across the Strait of North Korea, North and South Korea.
Mm.
And what's very interesting about it is, and you can look this up, a lot of lashes back in the day, and still some to this day, are manufactured in North Korea.
Hmm.
And they get trained to China to slap a label to say made in China.
Interesting.
You can look it up. Elf Cosmetics got sued for I believe $1 million for being discovered that they were using this type of supply chain.
Hmm.
What was very interesting was when I went back to China to find a supplier for this company, I toured 12 different factories. And I would say 11 of those factories didn't have their full production line in the facility. And what I mean full production line is when you go to a manufacturing facility, typically you should see where the raw materials are being procured, like boxes of raw material to the finished product. You should see the full assembly line.
Right.
And 11 of those 12 facilities that we went to, they did not have the full assembly line. So I was like, what's going on here? And they said straight up to me, yeah, we just get it from North Korea. They come back. It was like basically a finished product. We put it in a box, slap our label on it, and call it a day.
Wow.
And I was like, I don't want to do that. What the heck?
Yeah.
the 12th factory ended up being the one that we went with, and they were able to show us from end to end, from bundles of hair to the end product of a pair of lashes. They were able to show me the entire process. I saw it with my own eyes, and that's what I went with. But that factory was 3.5 times more expensive than every
Mm.
factory. Every factory was selling it to me. They quoted to me about 40 to 50 cents for a pair of lashes. I don't know where the hell those hair have been. I don't even know what animal they came from. I don't know which person made that. That I cannot attest to the working conditions of those people making it for 40 cents a pair. The $2 a pair one, I know exactly how many people worked on a pair of lashes. It goes from step by step. I know exactly who made it, and I know that's why it costs so much.
Hmm.
And so we brought that type of pair of lashes and brought it to America, but we didn't price it like everyone else. Everyone else, we were selling these 40 cents lashes for what we were selling it for. For the same amount of money that they're selling it for, we did too, but our cost was 3.5 times more. And most people look at that as a very terrible business decision because they're like, why would you price the same amount, but your cost is so much higher? And I said, no, don't worry. The product will sell itself. Our product was so unique that people knew immediately when they put their finger on it. Like they knew immediately that this is a good pair of lashes. And so instead of trying to make more money from each pair of lashes, we were selling more pairs per order. Most people would just buy a pair or two. We were selling 5 pairs per order.
Mm.
So I didn't have to make my product more expensive. I just had to make really good product a little bit more accessible, and people naturally were buying more. That was how we grew.
Yeah, it's the old drug dealer model. You get them in and they're hooked, man, right?
It's a replenishable. That's the beauty of the
That's
cosmetic
that's
industry.
CPG, man. Yeah, that's we get a lot of reoccurring business, and it's been a huge boon for us. So, because I'm such an idiot, like what's the difference between these lashes? Because you're selling me. I'm sold, but I don't. I've never put lashes on, and nor will I probably.
No, it's not a known fact. It's okay if you know nothing about it. I honestly didn't know anything about it until I got into the business. I was only interested in the business because I saw people who were wearing lashes in real life, and I was like, that doesn't look good. That looked like you just stick some piece of plastic on your
You got to
eyelids.
glue it on, right? There's like glue involved. It's
Yeah,
crazy.
there's glue involved, and there's different tiers. There's different tiers of fiber. So it goes from PHT, which is basically plastic, and nylon, and all the way to animal hair.
Okay.
And there's even some using human hair, which we would never touch. We didn't use animal hair either. We were using Korean silk
Why
fiber.
why why do you dislike human and animal hair so much?
Personally, kind of gross me out.
Okay. All right. Hey, I don't want plastic in my eyes. So like I'm the other way. Like, I get it. Human hair, it's kind of weird, but
So we were just using Korean silk fiber, which is what I found was the perfect middle ground of it. It's very very soft. When you brush against it, it feels like natural hair.
mm.
You can wear it 16 times, and once again, when you put it on, it feels like you're wearing absolutely nothing. Um,
So this is removable and you can wear it again?
16 times.
Is that typical with lashes or cuz I thought, I just take them off and then they get found on the dance floor, bars and wherever.
For very cheap lashes, you can probably wear them once. For really, really good lashes, you can wear them 16 plus times.
Okay.
And we were basically bringing what people were selling for $30, $35, but at $15.
Mm.
So a very, very affordable price point.
Mm. So how does this business scale? Sounds like you got the product, you're at the right place at the right time, you got the right skill set.
I think right place, right time is the best way to put it. 2018 was the start of TikTok. Musically was what it was called back then. It was a bunch of teenagers lip syncing to songs, and then it became TikTok, where it's still a platform of teenagers lip syncing to songs. But I noticed something on TikTok that I knew didn't exist on Snapchat, on Tumblr, or on Instagram, which is back in the day, TikTok was the only platform where you can have 10 followers and get 1 million views.
Mhm.
Only platform that had the algorithm to do so. And so we were one of the first few brands on TikTok
Okay.
to really start making content. I found a creator on my timeline just through scrolling, and Her name is Tiffany. She did never make any beauty content before, but I just thought she was had a great personality. She felt like someone's big sister, and that's kind of what I want our tone to be, which is like your big sister showing you how to do makeup. We brought her on. Um, she started making content for us, and we immediately went from 0 followers to 10,000 followers, 50,000
Whoa.
followers, and in 8 months we had 150,000 followers, and we were just going viral time after time, just cracking the algorithm with with her. And what we really did was we were peeling back the curtain on how things were made. We were telling the story about every single style that we were making, the thought that went into it. There is no polished content. Everyone on Instagram was making very polished content of very pretty lashes against pretty backgrounds on pretty people. We did none of that. We went straight to, here's the story of how we did it. Here's a trouble with our 3PL. We were giving people like a behind the scene look of how things were made, so much so that they felt very invested in our brand.
Mm.
So they weren't just buying the product, they're buying into the brand, the story, and the reasons why we made the product. But the product had to be good enough to keep them to come back over and over and again. So we're just combining these two perfect factors into a formula to going viral and selling out.
Yeah, I know these folks over at Midday Squares. I don't know if you know about them, but they've just done such a good job with that kind of what you described. It's like, I'm gonna show you the behind the scenes. I think they ham it up a little bit. I don't know that for a fact, but it's just like The Office combined with like, The Apprentice, and it's smart. It's smart. It's beautiful. And it sounds like you were right there on the forefront, like right there at the beginning of TikTok, right there putting out that content. You had the right product, and you just needed a little bit of gasoline, and it went.
Absolutely.
That's
Um,
amazing.
but I think like same thing happened with what I did with the meme Bible was after 6 years of lashes, I was like, you know what, that's not my forever. My passion is to create. I like to make new businesses that I had no idea uh, anything about, no business being, but I'm gonna spend my entire time learning about it and trying to perfect it, trying to make a better version of it. What I did with lashes, I felt like I'm trying to do with packaging,
Mm.
and that's really where the road led me to.
So how did you decide to leave that business? It just same exact emotions bubbled up, like, I could do something different. I can do
Yeah,
I know a lot of people who they like the building process, but then once
yeah.
it's, like, pretty stable and it's like we're trying to churn out, like, 10 or 15% growth year over year, it's like, that's just not that fun for me any longer.
Yeah, that's me. I like building, and I think packaging will be a great chapter of my life for the next few years. I'm in it to change the category through our technology, through the way we market ourselves, and just through the standards that we set in the category. But afterwards, maybe I'll move on to do something else. I don't know.
Mm, that's amazing, man. Um, Jason, is there anything about your story that we didn't cover? Because I feel like we went from
You did.
arriving in New York City all the way through to where we are. It all comes full circle, right? Because you're back manufacturing in China and overseas. It's
Yeah,
amazing.
it's a full circle. I know. I think you cover everything. You've been an amazing person to just go back and forth with.
No, dude, this is a lot of fun, and I definitely want to stay in touch about some of these projects, and we'll jam here, about this all glass food storage container, and no matter what, it sounds like we need to buy poly bags and bubble mailers from you.
100%. Would love to do that.
Where can people find you, man? And where can they, if somebody wants to produce products, I know a ton of brands that are producing, bar wrappers, and they're producing, packaging, corrugate, cardboard, fluted cardboard, all the like, chipboard. Like, where can people find leads for that?
Yeah, we're on our website, www.packingduck.com, Paking, no C in there. I named it after one of my favorite dish. If you ever had Peking duck.
Yep. When I search it, like, oh, there's you're moving up the rankings, but there's a
Oh
lot of
my
like
God.
Peking duck popping up. Yeah.
Don't even get me started on it.
Yeah.
We are fighting against a 1,000-year-old recipe, but we're getting there. Yeah, packingduck.com. We're on Instagram too. My personal Instagram is pug on Instagram, and I read all the DMs. Every single inquiry that comes through, I'm in the chat. So when you work with our company, you're gonna see me too. I will be in every single chat for probably quite a long time, just to make sure that things are going well.
That's beautiful, man. I really appreciate your time today.
Of course. Thanks
Thank
for
you,
having
man.
me.